Hey, what's up? DFS Rico coming at you with my picks and insight for this LPL LCK 2-game slate on Saturday, April 25th. Before I get started, if you could subscribe, like, comment at the end of the video. If you have any questions, I really appreciate. I've been having a decent amount of subscribers lately. I do appreciate it all. And then also, before I get started, I want to highlight I had a pretty decent night last night. As far as as my placing, I mean, I know the pricing wasn't as high as probably some people would get, but I was able to get second in the solo LPL slate for the one that started 2 days ago. I was able to get second in that one. I won $61 in that one, and then on the slate from yesterday, the OPL LPL slate, the one that was combined with the two different leagues, I got first, but that one was crazy. I mean, there was only so many options you could choose from with a 2-game slate, so I ended up tying for first with 21 other people. We all had the best lineup. I think we had the most optimal lineup, so that's why it ended up being 11-24 was our point total, and we just practically tied and split the first 20 slots in that competition. But yeah, so I did pretty well last night. I'm doing pretty well right now. Looking at the EU Masters, I'm doing really solid right now also. So hopefully when the EU Masters slate ends, I can and record my new video. Hopefully I did profit on that one as well, or a good profit at least. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight that. So I mean, it's usually what it takes. It's usually every once in a while you'll get a good winning. It's not every day you're gonna win some or even places high, you know. But I mean, as long as you're always breaking even or being consistent with your victories, you should be fine. Playing the same strategy, you just build a strategy that works for you, and it usually works out every once in a while for outcomes like this. But yeah, let's get back to the slate. I mean, you got Fun Plus Phoenix versus Edward Gaming. Fun Plus Phoenix is the bigger favorites on the slate, and then you got T1 over Gen G, which Gen G was the first place finisher for this league, for the LCK, but they are underdogs versus T1 because T1 did beat them both times this season. They too won them both times. And the thing with T1, I feel like they're a different team in the playoffs, and when it matters most. They're a really good team with Faker in the middle. They're 3 times world champions. They 3-peated at one point. They're practically one of the best teams in the world, and the constant thing that hasn't changed on none of those teams is Faker. Every other role, for the most part, has changed throughout the years, but Faker has been their mid laner through all their championships, and he's probably everyone's favorite player, or a lot of people's favorite player in the world, one of the best players in the world. He's practically a legend in the game, you know? So yeah, so then you got Fun Plus Phoenix, heavily favorites, which I do really like them. Obviously in cash, if you're going to be playing FPX or T1, is the way you're going to be looking with the favorites. Like I always mention, it's a safer way to go if you just want to be more consistent over time, is you just want to pick the favorites. But I do, even though like I was giving all that praise to T1, I think Gen G can beat them. I think Gen G can beat them. They have the skill set. They have the players to do it. They have the really good carries to do it. BDD's played really well. He made all first pro team practically. They have like their pro teams throughout the seasons, like that every other sport does. Their mid laner was actually the best mid laner throughout the season. He won MVP as well. For the season. So I mean, they have a really good mid laner, but he is going to be going against Faker, a player who's been there. So just keep that in mind. GPPs, I feel like you can have that leverage if you are playing Gen G. I'm not so huge on Edward Gaming. Fun Plus Phoenix is actually the defending champions with Do and B, and they got the exact same team. As long as Gimgoon is starting, it's the exact same starting lineup that they won Worlds with last year. And I think Gimgoon should be starting. I haven't seen the lineups come out, so you will have to keep an update on that. Whether it's going to be Gimgoon or Khan, but I'm pretty sure it should be Gimgoon. I'll post in my comments if anything changes, but as of right now, I'm pretty sure Gimgoon should be starting. But yeah, that's really it on those guys. I'm just going to run through the positions fast because there's not a bunch of rosters. You kind of just know. I mean, today to me is going to be a 4-3 stack kind of day. I feel like these matches won't go 5 games. I feel like that most it'll be 3-1. I don't think a sweep will happen, but I think it'll be 3-1 if it goes anyway. So playing like a player from the losing team is only going to hurt your chances at winning, at your upside at least. So just play the guys that you believe are going to win. If you really want to play the leverage game and play Gen G and think they're going to win, then go ahead. But for the most part, I am leaning to just playing the favorites, but I'm not counting out Gen G as far as GPPs. Maybe playing them in like a 3-man stack, make sure you're including BDD. But like I mentioned, you got Gimgoo and Kana are going to be the most expensive top laners since they are the favorites. I do like them. And then Rascal at 6K is a bit underpriced in my opinion. He's played pretty solid all season. Then you got Tion for FPX, probably my favorite jungler on the slate. I think for sure he's my favorite jungler on the slate. As long as their starting lineup remains the same, I do like FPX. Should be Gimgoon, Tion at the jungle, doing B at the AD, the mid laner, LWX at the AD carry, and then you got Crisp at the support position. So as long as it stays like that, it'll be good. But like I mentioned, keep an eye on that. I will comment if I see anything change as far as starting lineups. So keep an eye on that as well. And then you got Kuz for T1 and then Clid for Gen G. If I am playing Gen G, I do like to play Clid in there as well. And also, if I am playing a stack like LCK, from the LCK teams, I only will probably play them as a 3-player stack because the LPL, as everyone knows, has higher upside usually. They do play a little more crazy, so they throw themselves out there more. They create more opportunity for kills and deaths. So maybe that's a leverage in GPP. Maybe the LCK players go off more, and then it ends up being they're the higher scoring player. So if you play them in a 4-3 stack, you can even do a 4-3 stack with T1, 4-player T1 and 3-player FPX, and then right there alone you might have an advantage already if T1 ends up being the higher scoring team, because I feel a lot of people will lean 4 players FPX, 3 players T1. But I like all those guys. I mean, Junjia for EDG is probably my favorite player if you do decide to play EDG. Been really consistent at 6.2k. That's insane. Then you got your mid laners doing B, obviously, Faker and BDD. The mid lane is just stacked today, honestly. The 4 mid laners are all really good. 17.1 assists per match, 10.9 kills per match. Really solid from him. Faker doesn't have, I think he has the lowest upside out of all the mid laners, but he does have the tendency, he can pop off if he has a really good showing. But in my opinion, he has the lowest upside out of all the guys. BDD to me has the highest upside out of all the mid laners between him and doing B. So you do have that going for you if you decide to play him. LWX, Teddy's the key player I would play if I am playing T1. Teddy's my favorite player on their team. Most consistent, highest upside on the team as well. Yeah, that's really it on those guys. Then you got Ruler for Gen G. I do like him as well. Hope has the highest upside on the slate in my opinion, as far as AD carries. But like I said, I'm not really a huge fan of EDG today. But who knows? They could pull the upset off. Who knows? These are all the best teams in their leagues, you know. FPX, you got Crisp, best support on the slate with 25 assists per match. And then you got Effort as well for T1. It looks like T1 called up a lot of their bench players. I don't think they play them, but one thing also to note, LCK does like to sub a lot. So if somebody has a bad game, they're not afraid to sub. Even if someone has a good game, they sub. That's why if they don't sub, though, if T1 is winning, I don't see them doing any subs. But if they struggle, like let's say they lose game 1, you might be in trouble if they pull out like a sub. They swap their junglers out. So be very careful with that. Just be very careful. I think the safest players that won't get subbed are Faker and Teddy. Those are the 2 safest players on the team, in my opinion. So I feel like if you do play them, make sure if you're playing T1 guys, be wary that the other 3 guys might get subbed out. Like if they're having a bad game or even if they win. But Faker's usually the constant player in the mid lane. Gory's not bad either. But Faker, I mean, they've all played practically all season. The only ones that have gotten subbed out all season is the jungler and the top laner. But just be careful with that. They do like to swap a lot. So a bad game can lead to you not getting points for 3 other games after that. Let's say they lose game 1 and they reverse sweep that the next 3. You might be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble. So just be wary of that. I'd rather play it safe and play 4 guys, honestly, from FPX, just because they're a little more consistent. And Gimgoon being the only outlier, honestly. Gimgoon's the only one that could probably get subbed out for Khan. But if they're winning, I don't see him swapping out like I mentioned. But yeah, I think that's really it. Like I mentioned, FPX, T1, I really like them. LCK teams, be careful with them for subs. And that's really it. FPX, T1's the way to go. Gen G and GPPs is the only way I go. Thank you. I appreciate it for watching. Support, like, subscribe.